You're scrolling through Instagram on a Sunday afternoon and someone your age, maybe 2 years older, posts a picture. Nice house, clean car, holiday somewhere with blue water, and you do the thing. You tap on their profile. You study it for about 40 seconds like a detective. And you think, how? How are they doing that? Because you have a job, a real job. With a real salary, you're not irresponsible. You're not blowing money on silly things. You pay your bills. You show up. And yet there's this gap. This quiet, embarrassing, stressful gap between the life you're living and the life you thought you'd have by now. And the worst part, you can't even explain it. There's no single moment you can point to and say, that's where it went wrong. It just didn't go right. And that confusion, that specific confusion, is actually the most expensive thing happening to you right now, because you're not broke. You're just bleeding slowly, quietly, in ways nobody taught you to see. And the people who figured it out, the ones who got to $1 million by 40 on ordinary salaries, they didn't do it with crypto tips or viral side hustles or anything you'd see in a thumbnail with a Lamborghini in the background. They did it with 10 habits. 10 habits so boring, so quiet, so completely unglamorous that you'd be embarrassed to post about them. And that's exactly why they work. My name is Amanda, and I've spent years studying the gap between people who build real wealth on average incomes and people who make the same money and wonder at 50 where it all went. If you're in that second group right now, or if you're scared you're heading there, subscribe, hit the like button, and stay with me, because today we're going to close that gap, not with theory, with real numbers, and with 10 habits that are going to feel almost insultingly simple once you hear them. Here's the thing I need you to understand before we get into the habits themselves. There is a reason the wealthy habits are boring. It's not an accident. It's not because rich people have no imagination. It's because the entire consumer economy, the ads, the credit offers, the upgrade cycles, all of it is deliberately designed by people with PhDs in human psychology to make the boring habits feel bad and the expensive habits feel good. The car dealership doesn't show you the total price. It shows you the monthly payment, because $687 a month feels manageable and $41,000 feels like a punch in the stomach. The credit card company designs the minimum payment system so carefully that you could pay for 20 years on a $10,000 balance and still owe money. The subscription service makes canceling take 4 steps through a menu designed to exhaust you into staying. These aren't mistakes. These are business models. They are the water you're swimming in. And once you see them, you cannot unsee them. Now, here's the data that should change everything. Research by Ramsey Solutions, which surveyed over 10,000 millionaires in the United States, found that the majority built their wealth over time, and about 79% did not receive any inheritance. Many of them pointed to consistent long-term investing as a key factor in their success. And when Thomas Stanley spent years studying real millionaires, he found something surprising. Most of them don't look wealthy at all. They tend to drive modest cars, live below their means, and avoid unnecessary upgrades. From the outside, they look like their neighbors. And that's the point. Their wealth isn't in what you see. It's in what they chose not to spend. So the question this video is answering is simple. How does a person on a $60,000 salary get to $1 million by 40, while the person next to them on the same $60,000 is still stressed about car repairs? The answer is 10 habits. And I'm going to walk you through every single one with the actual numbers, because the numbers are where this stops feeling like theory and starts feeling urgent. I'm not a financial advisor. This is educational content, not personal advice. But these numbers are real and they will change how you see money from here forward. Let's go. The number one habit is that you must pay yourself first, and it must be automatically before your brain gets involved. Here's what most people do. They get paid, they pay their bills, they buy their groceries, they go out a couple of times, they handle the car thing, and then at the end of the month, they look at what's left and they save that, which is usually somewhere between nothing and almost nothing. And then they feel guilty and tell themselves next month will be different. Next month isn't different, because the system is set up for it not to be different. This is not a character flaw. This is how human psychology works when money is visible and available. We spend what we see. Research from Vanguard and similar studies found that when companies switch from voluntary retirement enrollment to automatic enrollment, participation rates can jump dramatically, often from around 30% to well over 80 or even 90%. Same people, same jobs, same income. The only real difference is whether the money is moved before they see it or after. That's how powerful automation is. And it shows that building wealth is often less about willpower and more about structure. So in simple words, the habit is this. The day you get paid, before you see the money, before you have a chance to think about it, a fixed percentage moves automatically into investments. Not what's left over, a percentage off the top. Set it up once, 20 minutes. And then it runs forever without needing your motivation, your discipline, or your good mood on a particular Thursday. Start at 10% if you're just beginning. Every time you get a raise, split it. Half goes to lifestyle, half goes to savings. Increase your contribution before the new salary hits your account. Whatever you never see, you don't budget around. Whatever you don't budget around, you don't miss. This single habit, done consistently from your mid-20s, is worth more than every other financial decision you'll ever make combined. Not an exaggeration. The numbers will show you exactly why in a moment. So now to the number 2 habit. It's simple. Invest in index funds and leave them alone. I know this sounds too simple. You've heard it before and it felt like a non-answer. But let me show you what the data actually says. Because the data on this is so clear that ignoring it isn't a financial strategy, it's a financial mistake. There is research from Dalbar that compares how the market performs like the S&P 500 to how investors actually perform. The exact numbers change depending on the time period, but the message is consistent. Most investors earn less than the market over time. This is usually not because they pick bad investments. It's because of behavior buying when prices are high, selling when markets fall, and reacting to news or fear. Even a small difference in returns, like 10% versus 7% over many years, can lead to a huge gap in money. The main lesson is simple. It's not just what you invest in, it's how you behave that matters most. Here's the part that should really make you think. Over long periods, 15, 20 years or more, reports from S&P Dow Jones indices consistently show that a large majority of professional fund managers fail to outperform the S&P 500. We're talking about people with advanced degrees, research teams, and access to far more information than the average investor. And yet, many of them still struggle to beat a simple low-cost index fund over time. That's not because they're not smart. It's because the system is competitive, fees add up, and consistency is incredibly difficult to maintain. Which leads to a simple habit that has stood the test of time. Invest consistently in low-cost index funds. Automate your contributions and avoid reacting to short-term markets. It's not exciting. It's outright boring. There's nothing to watch. But over decades, this simple approach has proven to be one of the most reliable ways for long-term investors to build wealth. Now to our number 3 habit. Make sure you collect every single dollar of your employer match. Your employer match is not just a nice work perk. It is cash sitting on the table. It is a 50 to 100% guaranteed return on your contribution the moment you make it. And roughly 1 in 4 employees in America doesn't take all of it. Financial engines calculated that collectively, American employees leave billions of dollars in unclaimed employer match on the table every single year. The average unclaimed amount per person is $1,336 annually. At 7% growth over 20 years, that single oversight costs you $55,000 in money your employer was legally ready to give you, that you simply didn't collect. If you don't know your match percentage right now, that is the most expensive thing you don't know. Log into your benefits portal before this video ends. Find out exactly what your employer will match and exactly what you're currently contributing. If there is a gap, close it tonight. This is not a suggestion. This is the single highest guaranteed return available to any working person, and it requires nothing except knowing the number and changing one setting. Moving on to number 4 habit. Use an HSA as a secret retirement account. This is the most overlooked tax advantage in the entire American financial system. And most people treat it like a debit card for doctor's visits, which is one of the most expensive mistakes in personal finance. An HSA, available to those on a high deductible health plan, is widely considered one of the most tax-advantaged accounts in the US. It offers what's often called a triple tax advantage. Your contributions can be tax deductible, your money grows tax-free, and withdrawals for qualified medical expenses are also tax-free. Most other common accounts don't offer all three benefits at once. A traditional 401k gives you tax deferral, and a Roth gives you tax-free growth, but neither combines all three in the same way. The 2025 contribution limit is $4,300 for individuals and $8,550 for families. If you're 30 years old, you max it every year, you invest the funds and index funds inside the account, and you don't touch it for 35 years. At 8% growth, you are looking at roughly $830,000 in tax-free money. After age 65, it works just like a traditional retirement account for non-medical withdrawals. Now here's the frustrating part. 96% of HSA balances are spent down every single year. Only about 5% of HSA holders invest their funds at all. 5%. The other 95% are using one of the most powerful retirement tools available as a reimbursement account for small copays. If you have access to an HSA and you're doing this, stop immediately. The difference in money we're talking about is $800,000. That's not a small error. Now, number 5 habit, live on less than you earn and don't upgrade your lifestyle with every raise. Some reports show that even high earners can still feel financially stretched, not because they earn too little, but because their spending rises with their income. This is lifestyle inflation, where income goes up, but savings don't. You've probably felt it already. The raise comes in and for a moment you feel genuinely ahead. Then the apartment upgrade starts to feel reasonable. You've earned it. The car gets slightly newer. The restaurants get a bit nicer. The lifestyle improves in small, justifiable ways. None of it feels reckless. Every decision makes sense in the moment. And then a few months later, you're earning more, but nothing really changed. The income went up. The stress didn't. This is what psychologists call hedonic adaptation, where new upgrades quickly become your new normal. The excitement fades faster than you expect. The apartment that felt amazing becomes ordinary. The car that felt like progress just becomes your car. So you upgrade again, thinking the next one will finally make the difference. But it rarely does. Instead, the income that was supposed to bring you freedom ends up buying a slightly better version of the same financial pressure. Now look at what happens when you break that pattern. You go from $60,000 to $80,000, but you keep your lifestyle close to $60,000. That extra $20,000 gets saved and invested. Over time, that gap compounds. It doesn't just sit there, it grows. And years later, that one decision can turn into hundreds of thousands of dollars. But if your spending rises with your income, that opportunity disappears completely. So the fix is simple, but it has to happen at the right moment. Automation before exposure. The day you find out your salary is increasing, you increase your savings before the new money ever hits your account. Because what you never see, you don't spend. And the raise that builds your future is the one that never reaches your wallet. Number 6 habit. Eliminate high interest debt with urgency. High interest debt feels manageable because the monthly payment looks small, but the math behind it tells a very different story. A $10,000 credit card balance at a high interest rate can take decades to pay off if you only make minimum payments, and you could end up paying far more than you originally borrowed. Now flip that. If that same money had been invested over time, it could have grown significantly instead. That gap between interest working against you and compounding working for you is where a lot of people quietly lose wealth. Here's the shift that changes everything. Paying off high interest debt is like earning a guaranteed return equal to that interest rate. Very few investments can offer that kind of certainty, which means every extra dollar you put toward that debt is doing more work there than anywhere else. The method is simple. List your debts from highest interest rate to lowest. Pay the minimum on everything. Then direct every extra dollar toward the highest one. Once it's gone, roll that payment into the next. It's not about motivation. It's about structure. And how quickly you act on it can make a difference of tens of thousands of dollars over time. Number 7 habit, build an emergency fund and treat it like infrastructure. Because life doesn't wait until you're ready. Something will happen. A car repair, a medical bill, a sudden expense you didn't plan for. And when there's no savings in place, that moment turns into debt. An emergency fund changes that completely. 3 to 6 months of essential expenses set aside, not for growth, not for returns, just for protection. Its value isn't what it earns, it's what it prevents. It stops small problems from becoming long-term financial setbacks. It gives you breathing room, it gives you control, and that kind of stability is more powerful than most people realize. Number 8, habit. Track your money honestly. You don't need a complicated system. You just need awareness. Most people aren't bad with money. They just don't see clearly where it's going. And when you don't see it, you can't change it. This habit is simple. Once a month, look at your spending and ask 2 questions. Where did my money go? And does that match what I actually wanted? That's it. But that small habit closes a gap most people don't even realize exists. A gap that can cost hundreds every month. And over time, that difference adds up to something significant. Number 9 habit, negotiate your income. A lot of people accept what they're offered without question. Not because they can't ask for more, but because it feels uncomfortable. But small increases early in your career don't stay small, they compound. Over time, they affect your raises, your bonuses, your retirement contributions, everything built on top of your income. The habit is simple. Prepare, know your value, ask clearly, not aggressively, not emotionally. Just confidently, because the people who ask consistently tend to earn more over time, not because they're better, but because they asked. Number 10 habit, spend intentionally, not for status. Because most spending isn't really about the thing itself. It's about the feeling or the image. But real wealth is often invisible. It's the upgrades you didn't take, the things you chose not to buy, the decisions nobody sees. And over time, that creates something far more valuable than appearance. It creates options, the option to step back, to say no, to live life on your own terms. Research also shows that experiences tend to bring longer lasting satisfaction than material things. So the goal isn't to stop spending. It's to spend in a way that actually adds value to your life. And here's the part most people miss. None of this is complicated. You don't need a huge income or a perfect plan. You just need to start. Because the difference between people who build wealth and those who stay stuck isn't knowledge. It's action. So don't try to fix everything at once. Pick one habit. Maybe it's saving a little more. Maybe it's tracking your spending. Maybe it's finally dealing with that debt. Just one. Because that's how it works. Not in one big moment, but in small decisions repeated over time. A year from now, you'll feel the difference. 10 years from now, you'll wish you started earlier or be glad that you did. So start now. And if this gave you a new way to think about money, stay connected. Subscribe to our channel and give us a thumbs up. Let's build this quietly and consistently. Please remember, this is not financial advice. It's for educational purposes only. Always speak to a qualified professional before making financial decisions.